Deep in the forests of Romania, where twisted trees claw at perpetual gray skies, stands a place that has terrified locals for over 600 years. The Hoia Baciu Forest, spanning 700 acres near Cluj-Napoca, holds the distinction of being Europe's most haunted woodland. But Romania's Cursed Grove is just one of dozens of forests worldwide where something inexplicable stalks between the trees. From the suicide-plagued depths of Japan's Aokigahara to the phantom-filled pines of England's Epping Forest, these dark woodlands share disturbing commonalities. Visitors report identical phenomena across continents and centuries: unexplained lights, disembodied voices, electronic equipment failures, and most unsettling of all, the overwhelming sensation of being watched by something that shouldn't exist. What transforms ordinary forests into supernatural hotspots? Why do certain woodlands generate consistent paranormal reports spanning generations? The answers may lie not just in local folklore, but in the very nature of how consciousness interacts with these isolated places where civilization's light barely penetrates. The Hoia Baciu Forest earned its sinister reputation through documented incidents that stretch back to medieval times. Local records from the 15th century describe peasants vanishing without trace within its borders. The forest name itself derives from a shepherd called Baciu, who disappeared with his 200 sheep, never to be found despite extensive searches. The modern era of paranormal investigation began in 1968 when military technician Emil Barnea photographed what appears to be a metallic disc hovering above the forest canopy. The image, analyzed by multiple photographic experts, showed no signs of tampering. Barnea's photograph launched decades of UFO research in the forest, with over 200 unexplained aerial phenomena documented since. But the forest's strangeness extends far beyond UFO sightings. The most notorious feature is the Poiana rotundi, a perfectly circular clearing where nothing grows. Soil analysis reveals normal composition, adequate drainage, and proper pH levels. Yet for reasons that baffle botanists, this 100-meter circle remains barren despite repeated attempts at cultivation. Paranormal researcher Dr. Adrian Putruk has conducted over 400 investigations within Hoia Baciu since 1970. His electromagnetic readings consistently show unexplained spikes in areas where witnesses report apparitions. Radio equipment fails at specific coordinates with mathematical precision. Cameras malfunction in patterns that suggest deliberate interference rather than random technical problems. Recent expeditions using thermal imaging have captured temperature drops of up to 20 degrees Celsius in localized areas spanning only a few meters. These cold spots appear and disappear within minutes, defying meteorological explanation. Most disturbing, these temperature anomalies often coincide with witnesses reporting the sensation of invisible presences moving past them. The psychological effects prove equally consistent. Visitors frequently experience sudden anxiety attacks, nausea, and the unshakable feeling of being watched. Romanian psychiatrist Dr. Florin Goriu documented over 150 cases of people experiencing panic attacks specifically within the forest boundaries, with symptoms disappearing immediately upon leaving. Trees within Hoia Baciu display unexplained growth patterns. Many exhibit bizarre spiraling trunks, as if twisted by unseen forces during growth. Dendrochronology studies reveal these deformations occurred over decades, ruling out human interference or single traumatic events. The twisted trees cluster in specific areas that correlate with paranormal activity reports. Local folklore attributes the forest's haunted nature to a mass execution that occurred in the 15th century, according to regional historian Dr. Point. Ioana Crisan, Hungarian soldiers executed approximately 200 Romanian villagers within the forest during territorial conflicts. While historical records confirm the massacre, no burial sites have been discovered despite extensive archaeological surveys. Modern DNA analysis of soil samples has revealed human remains scattered throughout the forest at depths suggesting centuries of decomposition. The distribution pattern indicates multiple burial sites, supporting historical accounts of mass killings. However, the remains are too fragmented and degraded to determine exact numbers or identify specific individuals. The forest's reputation spread internationally through paranormal investigator Joshua P. Warren's 2002 expedition, which recorded electromagnetic anomalies strong enough to affect equipment from distances exceeding 100 meters. Warren's team documented shadow figures moving between trees in broad daylight, captured on infrared cameras that showed heat signatures where no living beings were visible to the naked eye. Recent scientific expeditions have employed ground-penetrating radar to map the forest subsurface. The scans revealed extensive underground chambers and tunnels of unknown origin, some extending over 50 meters in length. Geological surveys indicate these chambers are not natural cave formations, but their purpose and creators remain unknown. Halfway across the world, Japan's Aokigahara Forest presents equally disturbing phenomena through entirely different manifestations. Located at the base of Mount Fuji, this 14-square-mile woodland has become synonymous with death, earning the grim nickname Suicide Forest. Official statistics from Japan's National Police Agency report over 500 documented suicides within Aokigahara since the 1950s, with the actual number likely much higher due to undiscovered remains. The forest's dense canopy and volcanic soil composition create an environment where bodies can remain hidden for years. What makes Aokigahara particularly unsettling is not just the death toll, but the consistent reports of paranormal activity from those who venture inside. Visitors describe compasses spinning wildly, GPS devices failing, and an overwhelming sense of despair that intensifies with distance from the main trails. The forest's volcanic foundation contains high concentrations of magnetic minerals that interfere with electronic equipment. However, this geological explanation doesn't account for the psychological effects experienced by visitors. Japanese researcher Dr. Takeshi Yamamoto conducted psychological evaluations of 200 Aokigahara visitors between 2010 and 2015, finding that 78% experienced measurable increases in anxiety and depression within 30 minutes of entering. More disturbing are reports of eerie, vengeful spirits of the dead. Local guides employed by authorities to retrieve bodies and deter potential suicides describe encounters with apparitions that appear solid until approached directly. These spirits allegedly lead visitors deeper into the forest, away from marked paths and toward danger. Search and rescue operations have documented numerous cases of experienced hikers becoming lost on familiar trails. GPS tracking shows their paths inexplicably diverging from established routes, as if something systematically misdirected them. Of 47 such cases investigated between 2018 and 2020, none of the lost hikers could explain their deviation from known paths. The Japan Self-Defense Force conducts annual body retrieval missions in Aokigahara, operations that have yielded disturbing anecdotal reports. Soldiers describe finding camps and personal belongings arranged in patterns that suggest ritualistic preparation for death. Some scenes show evidence of supernatural encounters, items scattered in perfect circles, clothing hung on branches at impossible heights, and personal effects buried in locations that would have required extensive digging. Audio recordings from within the forest reveal consistent anomalies. Research teams equipped with sensitive microphones have captured whispers in Japanese, despite being alone and maintaining radio silence. Voice analysis indicates multiple speakers, both male and female, but the words prove untranslatable. They form no recognizable sentences in any Japanese dialect. The psychological magnetism that draws people to Aokigahara extends beyond Japan's borders. International visitors report feeling compelled to enter the forest despite having no prior suicidal ideation. Dr. Topting, Yamamoto's research suggests the forest may generate some form of psychological field that amplifies existing despair while implanting the suggestion of self-harm in vulnerable individuals. England's Epping Forest, stretching 400 acres across Essex and Greater London, presents a different category of haunted woodland. Unlike Hoia Baciu's UFO activity or Aokigahara's death magnetism, Epping Forest is renowned for its ghostly inhabitants, apparitions that have been consistently reported for over 400 years. The forest's paranormal reputation centers on specific locations where tragic deaths occurred. Hangman's Hill, site of numerous executions between the 16th and 18th centuries, remains a hotspot for apparition sightings. Visitors report seeing hanged figures silhouetted against trees, only to find empty branches upon closer inspection. London paranormal investigator Sarah Bradford has documented over 300 ghost encounters in Epping Forest since 2005. Her database reveals patterns in the manifestations. Apparitions appear most frequently during dawn and dusk hours, last between 30 seconds and 3 minutes, and consistently vanish the moment witnesses look away or attempt to photograph them. The most famous Epping Forest ghost is the Green Lady, described as a woman in a flowing green dress who appears near Queen Elizabeth's hunting lodge. Witnesses across 4 centuries have provided consistent descriptions: pale skin, dark hair, and a green gown that appears to move independently of any wind. Historical research suggests she may be the spirit of a woman executed for witchcraft in 1658. Modern investigations using electromagnetic field detectors consistently record spikes in areas where apparitions are reported. These EMF anomalies follow predictable patterns, occurring at the same locations and times when ghost sightings are most common. The correlation suggests a genuine connection between electromagnetic disturbances and paranormal manifestations. Night vision equipment has captured thermal anomalies in the shape of human figures throughout the forest. These heat signatures appear and disappear within seconds, showing temperature ranges consistent with living bodies despite no visible presence. Most intriguingly, the thermal figures often move in patterns that suggest purposeful behavior, walking specific routes, stopping at particular trees, and gesturing toward unseen observers. Epping Forest paranormal activity intensifies during specific lunar phases, with 73% of reported encounters occurring during the new moon. This correlation has led researchers to hypothesize that reduced light conditions may enhance the visibility of phenomena that exist at wavelengths beyond normal human perception. The forest's history as a royal hunting ground and site of public executions has left an indelible psychic imprint, according to psychic archaeologist Dr. Michael Persinger. His research into haunted locations suggests that intense emotional events can create electromagnetic recordings in certain geological formations, particularly those containing quartz and iron deposits. Geological surveys of Epping Forest reveal significant mineral deposits that could theoretically store and replay electromagnetic patterns. The forest sits on London clay containing high concentrations of iron oxide and crystalline formations that demonstrate piezoelectric properties when subjected to pressure or temperature changes. In North America, the Pine Barrens of New Jersey encompasses over 1 million acres of supposedly cursed woodland. This vast forest is home to the legendary Jersey Devil, a creature that has terrorized the region for over 250 years. But beyond the famous cryptid lurk other mysteries that transform ordinary forest into supernatural territory. The Pine Barrens' sandy soil and acidic water create a unique ecosystem that preserves organic matter with exceptional efficiency. Archaeological excavations have uncovered intact remains from the colonial period, including evidence of structures and settlements that don't appear in any historical records. Local historian Dr. Freed. David Charisse has documented over 100 reports of ghost towns appearing and disappearing within the Pine Barrens. Witnesses describe encountering fully populated colonial-era settlements complete with residents, only to find empty forests when they attempt to return to the same locations. These phantom settlements follow consistent patterns. They appear most frequently to solitary travelers, last between 15 minutes and 2 hours, and feature residents who speak in archaic English dialects. The inhabitants seem aware of their ghostly nature and often warn visitors to leave before full darkness falls. GPS tracking of Pine Barrens visitors reveals unexplained navigation anomalies. Hikers following established trails frequently report their GPS devices showing impossible locations, sometimes indicating they are miles from where they actually stand. These electronic malfunctions occur most frequently in areas where historical settlements once existed. The forest's reputation for supernatural phenomena extends to aircraft passing overhead. Federal Aviation Administration records document 23 cases since 1980 of pilots reporting equipment malfunctions while flying over the Pine Barrens. Navigation instruments fail, radio communications cut out, and engines experience temporary power loss at altitudes where mechanical problems should be impossible. Underground in the Pine Barrens lies a network of bog iron furnaces and mining tunnels dating to the 18th and 19th centuries. These subterranean passages create acoustic anomalies that amplify and distort sound in ways that can produce phantom voices and unexplained noises. However, acoustic analysis reveals that some recorded sounds originate from depths where no known tunnels exist. Recent expeditions using sonar mapping have discovered additional underground chambers beneath the Pine Barrens, some extending over 200 feet below the surface. These chambers show signs of artificial construction but predate known mining operations by centuries. Their purpose and builders remain unknown. The Jersey Devil legend itself demonstrates elements that parallel other forest-dwelling cryptids worldwide. Witnesses describe a creature with bat-like wings, a horse's head, and hoofed feet, a combination that appears in folklore from forests across different continents. This suggests either cultural transmission of monster archetypes or encounters with genuine unknown entities that manifest in similar ways globally. In the Pacific Northwest, the Olympic National Forest of Washington State presents its own catalog of unexplained phenomena. Covering nearly 1 million acres of temperate rainforest, these ancient woodlands harbor mysteries that have persisted since Native American tribes first settled the region. The Quinault and Maka tribes maintain oral traditions describing the forest as a dwelling place for supernatural beings they call Sitko, malevolent spirits that lead travelers astray and feast on human souls. Archaeological evidence suggests these beliefs stretch back over 10 years, making them among the oldest documented forest hauntings in North America. Modern encounters in the Olympic forest follow patterns consistent with Native American descriptions. Hikers report hearing voices calling their names from empty forest, leading them away from established trails. Search and rescue operations have documented 67 cases since 1995 of experienced outdoorsmen becoming lost on familiar routes, often found days later with no memory of how they became disoriented. The forest's dense canopy creates an environment where daylight barely penetrates to the ground level. This perpetual twilight produces psychological effects that researchers suggest may heighten susceptibility to paranormal experiences. Studies indicate that prolonged exposure to low-light conditions increases production of melatonin and DMT in the brain, potentially triggering hallucinations or altered states of consciousness. However, group encounters challenge purely psychological explanations. Multiple witnesses have simultaneously reported identical phenomena: phantom music echoing through the trees, the sound of Native American drums with no source, and campfires that appear fully blazing but produce no heat or smoke when approached. Olympic Forest's geological composition includes significant quartz deposits that create natural electromagnetic fields. These fields fluctuate based on seismic activity, atmospheric pressure, and lunar phases, potentially triggering the release of stored electromagnetic patterns that manifest as paranormal phenomena. Research by the University of Washington's Paranormal Studies Department has recorded infrasound, sound waves below human hearing range, emanating from specific forest locations. Infrasound can trigger feelings of unease, anxiety, and the sensation of being watched. The forest's unique topography channels these sound waves in ways that create invisible psychological pressure on visitors. The pattern of similar phenomena across diverse forest environments worldwide suggests underlying mechanisms that transcend local geography and culture. These haunted woodlands share certain characteristics: isolation from urban development, histories of human trauma, specific geological compositions, and electromagnetic anomalies that interfere with modern technology. Research into liminal spaces, environments that exist at the boundary between different states or conditions, indicates that forests naturally function as thresholds between the known and unknown. Their isolation from civilization, combined with the sensory deprivation created by dense tree cover, may create conditions where normal perceptual boundaries break down. Dr. 2. Michael Persinger's research into geomagnetic field fluctuations demonstrates that certain geological formations can generate electromagnetic fields strong enough to affect human brain function. Many haunted forests sit on geological fault lines or contain significant mineral deposits that could produce such fields. The correlation between paranormal activity and specific lunar phases suggests that gravitational forces may influence whatever mechanisms generate supernatural phenomena. If ghosts or other entities exist as electromagnetic patterns, gravitational fluctuations could affect their ability to manifest or interact with the physical world. Psychological factors also play crucial roles. Forests naturally trigger evolutionary responses related to predator avoidance and territorial awareness. The human brain remains programmed to perceive forests as potentially dangerous environments where threats could emerge without warning. This heightened alertness may make visitors more likely to interpret ambiguous stimuli as supernatural threats. The isolation of forest environments eliminates many ordinary sources of comfort and reality checking. Without cell phone signals, GPS navigation, or the presence of other people, visitors lose their usual anchors to consensus reality. This isolation may make them more susceptible to experiencing phenomena that exist at the edges of normal perception. Sound transmission in dense forests creates acoustic illusions that can produce phantom voices, footsteps, and other mysterious noises. The irregular surfaces of trees, rocks, and undergrowth reflect and distort sound waves in ways that can make ordinary forest noises seem to originate from impossible sources. Infrasound generated by wind moving through trees can trigger physiological responses including anxiety, dizziness, and the feeling of a presence nearby. These naturally occurring sound waves operate below the threshold of conscious hearing, but can profoundly affect emotional and psychological states. The visual environment of forests also contributes to supernatural experiences. Pareidolia, the tendency to perceive meaningful patterns in random stimuli, becomes heightened in environments where shifting shadows, moving branches, and filtered light create constantly changing visual patterns that the brain interprets as faces, figures, or movement. Studies of haunted forests consistently reveal electromagnetic anomalies that correlate with reported paranormal activity. These fields may interact with the human brain's electrical activity, potentially triggering hallucinations, altered states of consciousness, or enhanced sensitivity to environmental stimuli normally filtered out by conscious awareness. The preservation of organic matter in certain forest environments may create conditions where past events leave detectable traces. If consciousness or intense emotions can affect electromagnetic fields, traumatic events might create recordings that can be triggered by the right combination of environmental conditions and human sensitivity. Research into quantum mechanics suggests that consciousness may play a more active role in determining reality than previously understood. In isolated forest environments where the normal constraints of civilization are absent, this consciousness-reality interaction might become more pronounced, allowing for experiences that would be impossible in more structured environments. The global consistency of forest hauntings indicates that these phenomena emerge from fundamental aspects of how consciousness interacts with specific environmental conditions. Whether the experiences represent genuine supernatural encounters or complex interactions between psychology, geology, and electromagnetism, they reveal forests as places where the boundaries of normal reality become permeable. Modern technology continues to document anomalies in haunted forests that challenge conventional explanation. Digital photography captures orbs and figures invisible to the naked eye. Audio equipment records voices and sounds with no identifiable sources. Electromagnetic detectors reveal field fluctuations that correlate with witness reports of supernatural encounters. The advent of night vision technology has revealed that many forest environments exhibit activity invisible to normal human vision. Thermal cameras capture moving heat signatures with no corresponding visible presence. Motion sensors trigger in empty clearings. Trail cameras designed to photograph wildlife instead document unexplained lights and shadow figures. Satellite imagery and GPS mapping have revealed structural anomalies in some haunted forests. Perfectly circular clearings with no botanical explanation, geometric patterns in tree growth that suggest non-natural influences, underground cavities and chambers that predate known human habitation. The challenge of scientifically studying forest hauntings lies in their unpredictable nature. Unlike laboratory phenomena that can be reproduced under controlled conditions, forest encounters occur sporadically and resist systematic observation. Many researchers spend months in haunted woodlands without experiencing anything unusual, while casual visitors report extraordinary encounters. This unpredictability may itself provide clues about the nature of forest hauntings. If the phenomena depend on specific combinations of environmental conditions, psychological states, and electromagnetic factors, they would naturally be sporadic and difficult to reproduce. The very act of scientific observation might alter the conditions necessary for manifestation. Despite these challenges, accumulating evidence suggests that haunted forests represent genuine anomalies deserving serious scientific attention. The consistency of reports across cultures and centuries, combined with measurable environmental anomalies, indicates that something genuinely unusual occurs in these isolated woodlands. Whether that something represents supernatural entities, quantum mechanical effects, or complex interactions between consciousness and environment remains to be determined, but the forests themselves stand as laboratories where the boundaries between possible and impossible become fluid, offering glimpses into aspects of reality that science has yet to fully comprehend. The forests wait, their shadows holding secrets that may never fully yield to human understanding. In their depths, between the trees where civilization's light fails to penetrate, the impossible becomes commonplace, and the dead may indeed walk among the living. Each footstep into these haunted groves carries the possibility of encountering something that shouldn't exist but undeniably does. For those brave enough to venture into the world's most haunted forests, the woods offer more than just trees and wildlife. They offer doorways to mystery, windows into realms where ordinary reality breaks down and something far stranger takes its place. The question isn't whether these forests are truly haunted. The evidence overwhelmingly suggests they are. The question is what haunts them and why. The skeptic's case. Skeptics point to several explanations for supposed forest hauntings that don't require supernatural intervention. Psychological factors play major roles in creating apparently paranormal experiences. The isolation and unfamiliarity of dense forest environments naturally trigger anxiety responses that can manifest as feelings of being watched or followed. Pareidolia causes witnesses to interpret random shapes and shadows as human figures or faces. Infrasound generated by wind through trees creates physiological effects including unease and hallucinations that observers attribute to ghostly presence. Many electromagnetic anomalies in forests have natural explanations. Underground water flows, mineral deposits, and geological fault lines generate measurable electromagnetic fields that interfere with electronic equipment. What witnesses interpret as supernatural interference with cameras and GPS devices actually results from ordinary geological processes. The same electromagnetic fields that affect equipment can also influence human brain chemistry, potentially triggering hallucinations or altered consciousness that feel supernatural but have purely physical causes. Cultural contamination explains the consistency of ghost reports across different locations. Once a forest develops a reputation for hauntings, visitors arrive with preconceived expectations that influence their interpretations of ambiguous experiences. Social media and internet forums spread standardized accounts that create templates for supernatural encounters, leading to similar reports that seem to validate each other but actually represent collective delusion. These arguments deserve consideration, but they don't address the documented cases where multiple independent witnesses simultaneously experienced identical phenomena, or the measurable physical changes in electromagnetic fields that correlate precisely with reported ghost encounters. Eunan's word questions: why do electronic devices fail at specific coordinates within haunted forests with mathematical precision, rather than the random interference expected from natural electromagnetic fields? How do underground chambers discovered in several haunted forests predate known human habitation, and what purpose did they originally serve? Why do thermal cameras consistently capture human-shaped heat signatures in empty forest areas, and what generates heat patterns that match human body temperature in locations with no living presence? What explains the DNA evidence of human remains scattered throughout forests like Hoia Baciu at depths suggesting centuries of burial, when no historical records document mass burials at these sites? Why do the psychological effects of certain forests, sudden anxiety, nausea, panic attacks, disappear immediately upon crossing specific geographical boundaries, as if the forest itself generates these responses? Things to think about: what if the electromagnetic anomalies in haunted forests don't just interfere with electronic devices, but actually preserve imprints of traumatic events that occurred in these locations? Could intense emotional experiences create electromagnetic recordings in mineral-rich soil that can be triggered by the right combination of environmental conditions and human sensitivity? Could the isolation and unique acoustic properties of dense forests create natural laboratories where consciousness interacts with reality differently than in civilized environments? Is it possible that human awareness, freed from urban electromagnetic pollution and social constraints, becomes sensitive to phenomena that exist at the edges of normal perception? What would it mean if the underground chambers discovered in several haunted forests were constructed by unknown civilizations that understood how to manipulate electromagnetic fields in ways we haven't yet discovered? Could these ancient structures still function as supernatural amplifiers? Is it possible that certain forest environments exist as natural gateways between dimensions or states of reality, and that what we interpret as ghosts are actually glimpses of parallel worlds that occasionally overlap with our own in these liminal spaces? What if the consistent reports of entities that lead travelers astray represent a form of consciousness that exists symbiotically with forest ecosystems, not human ghosts, but something entirely different that has adapted to exist in the electromagnetic fields generated by these unique environments?
In the depths of space, a cataclysmic event. Asteroids collide, the universe is bent. Future looks dark, a wound that won't heal. Dinosaurs fall, a mass extinction reveal. Cosmic forces and collision. Stone.